All right, YouTube. So what we got here is a big pile of feathers. Feathers come usually strung. That's the way I buy them. And being strung means that they're sewn together on a strip. That's strung. And you can pick each feather off at a time. But usually what I do is I usually pick out like starting toward one end and I cut. I'm going to show you how I cut them too. But they come in different types. You get neck hackle, you get saddle hackle. The saddle hackle is the one I don't like a lot because you end up with these big round lobed feathers. But with that feather, I use because I like to cut the V's out. I'm gonna show you how I cut the V's out and how I tie what I get together before I tie my jig. So I'm gonna do black and chartreuse. So what I've got is strung neck hackle here. See how the tips of the feathers got a lot more point to them. I like the sharp pointed feathers on my jigs better. It's just what I prefer. I guess, everybody ties a little bit different. Some people like the big lobed ones. I don't. I like the sharp pointy ones. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start out with these two right here. I'm gonna cut these two loose from the stem, and I'm gonna make them. Let me get the jig head I'm gonna use. I'm gonna kind of show you how I gauge how long to cut it. And everybody's different. Some people like the tails short. Some people like the tails long. But let's say we're gonna use this 1/8 ounce jig head. So here's your jig head. Here's your feather. So I want at least maybe just a little bit shorter than that. So I'm going just almost the length of the jig head past the shaft of the hook. That's how long I want that feather. It's about like that. I'm gonna get right in there. It's kind of hard to see is the way I'm doing it. I'm gonna cut that feather off at the stem right there. I'm gonna set that off to the side. Take the next one, and I'm gonna do it the same way. So I got those two sitting off to the side. Now I'm going back to the strung saddle hackle. And I'm going to take one of these big round lobed feathers. I'm going to cut that whole feather off down here where it's tied in. Now that feather is huge compared to what I just pulled off. So I'm going to go up here to where it's just a little bit smaller. Cut it off right there at the stem. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up inside the stem just a little bit. Maybe like about 1 inch. Let's see what we can get. I think this one's already, we might have it. Come up with that V. I'm gonna put it over with my other feathers. And I'm probably gonna do one more V out of that same feathers. And go up in there about 1/4 of an inch. Clip that stem off. And that's what I got. So I've got 2 green chartreuse feathers and I got 2 black V's. So now let's tie a jig. All right, now that we got all of our feathers cut, like I said, I've got 2 chartreuse feathers and 2 black V's. Now, if y'all remember the last video I did, it was on the Peak Rotary vise. It was kind of a review. Now that I've been tying with it for a little while, I didn't make any videos lately. We kind of had COVID-19 go through the house. Didn't really get super sick over it. Lost our sense of smell and taste. You know, had a little bit of a cough, but we got that over with. So we can move on from that. But I've got an issue with the Peak rotary vise, and I'm going to show you what it is. Enough of an issue that I started emailing Peak yesterday, and they've yet to reply. I've got another one in the mail on the way. I'm going to send this one back, but I'm going to show you what happened to my Peak vise. I noticed when I was tying, it started feeling loose right here in the head. You can see it's got a little bit of play in it. Now this shaft is pressed into this. Everything else has got a set screw on it. Set screw here, set screw here. You know, your little tightening set screws. Why there's not a set screw there, because I'm going to show you what it does, because there's no way to tighten it down. It's pressed in there. So as you're tying and it starts wiggling, it starts coming loose. And I don't know how much further loose it's going to go, if the head's actually just going to fall off, but I'm guessing there might be another 1/8 of an inch down inside there that's supposedly pressed in there. But not real impressed with Peak not getting a hold of me. I like the vise. I've got no complaints about the vise. I love the adjustment, love the jaws. I love how smooth you can make it turn. That's an issue. So I started looking up reviews. I got this one off Amazon. When I started looking up reviews on it, there was no review about that coming out. So maybe it's a one-time thing, maybe it's not. But I was kind of disappointed to see that it was getting ready to come loose and maybe fall out, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe everybody's Peak vise does that. To me, I just wasn't real impressed with it. So anyway, we go back to our jig head. We got it coated with Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. Then we're going to wrap down to the point of the hook. Back up to the head. It's a pretty big jig, so you ain't going to have to worry too much about getting it too full on the body. But we're going to start out with our one chartreuse feather we cut. And I'm going to stack it right in the middle of that V, as close as I can get it. But I want the black V pointing up. Remember, I always start out with a couple loose wraps to see how you're going, and I don't like it already. So we're going to go back. We're going to go ahead and tie that chartreuse one in. And we're going to go back to putting our V back on. So a lot of times, when you got, a big pile of feathers, you've gone through all your good hackle, you've gone through all your tips, and you get left with all those feathers that are cut with that V in it. I forgot what I wrote those things. See what I'm talking about. Like this pile right here. You can go through them and see where I've cut all those V's out. There's no tip left on it, but you still got all that material down there you can still use. Don't throw it away. Keep a hold of it. If you start tying really small jigs, 1/64 of an ounce, 1/32, sometimes those V's are all you need to tie that jig with. So don't throw away your feathers just because you've used all your tips. So now we're going to go back with another chartreuse feather on top of that black V. And then from here, I usually kind of gauge it, look at it. Do I want more? Is that good enough? Trim up all my little flyaways here. I don't think that's too bad. I think we're going to go with that. And we're going to put some flash in it. I think we're going to go with a green one and a silver one. So we're going to do a silver one on this side. And we're going to do our green one on this side. And when I do my flash, I usually do it after I got my hackle tied on. Good, you can see that flash. When we put our Chanel on, I go to wrap it on, it'll pull that flash down back against the shaft of that hook a little bit. So we're using a medium black Chanel. And we're going to start it right up here, just a little bit below the head of the jig. I'm going to pull that flash back so that way I kind of catch it in that wrap. And I brought it back down pretty good. So now, I'm going to put a little layer of Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails there. I don't see a lot of people do that step. To me, it's just kind of insurance that it's not going to come apart. And we're going to start wrapping. Keeping our wraps not really overlapping, but close together. When you get to that last wrap, we're getting up there close to the head of the jig. Pull it over, and then go back on the other side of your thread. When you get there, wrap it a couple times. Then I'm going to pull it back this way. I'm going to go back over it again. We're going to cut it loose. And then we're going to whip finish it. Call this one good. 3, 4, 5. Pop it loose. Let's do one more on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 6, 7. I think I'm going to cut a couple extra. And then we're going to put a little layer of glue right there on the neck. The way I glue it down, that right there. You can use head cement. To me, the Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails works just as good. It's cheap. It's right here at Walmart. I'm just going to smear that all the way right around where that thread is. And that is what we got. It's a pretty jig. It's pretty common color you like to see a lot of people fish with. But that's what we got. But like I said, with the Peak Vise, I'll show you again what it's doing. And it started doing it when I started tying that jig. It starts working its way loose. And like I said, I can't find anybody else that's left a review that says their vise has done that, but this one did. Got another one coming in the mail. We'll give it a couple weeks. We'll see how it does. If it does the same thing, I'll probably be done with the Peak Vise, but I'm going to give them another chance. But that is all I got. Like, share, subscribe. And I said a while back, once I got to 1,000 subscribers and I hit it, that I'd do a jig giveaway, a dozen. Be looking for that. That's coming up here pretty soon. Like, share, subscribe. That's all I got. Peak Rotary Vise. Not what I thought.